Hi, Good Shepherd. Just wanted to talk to you a bit about the season of Epiphany, which begins today, and to offer you a practice you might do over the coming year. This season is a season of light. It's a season of manifestation, as we remember a couple of ways that things manifested. One, we remember the star that became visible over Jesus, that led the Magi. And the Magi then appear or are manifested in his home. They show up to honor him and to worship him. But ultimately, the manifestation that we celebrate in the season of Epiphany is of God's light that shows up through Jesus. And that's why light or a star is often a symbol that we see in the season of Epiphany. The hope of Epiphany is that we find that God is gathering in the whole world. The hope is that we too are gathered in. We remember that the Magi were not Jews. They were not part of the in crowd in God's kingdom, really. They were from Persia, and they didn't worship God. They were Zoroastrian priests. And yet, something about Jesus intrigued them and drew them in. And through that, God reaches out to the whole world, even to those who might surprise us most. And that also means that God has reached out to us, to you and to me, who are also not part of the Jewish people. And so the hope of this season is we find that just like those outsider magi, everyone is welcomed into God's love and purpose. And in response to this love, we, like the Magi, continue to seek Jesus, to find him, to kneel at his feet, to offer ourselves and whatever gifts we can bring, to find the culmination of all things in him, and to follow after him wherever he goes. There's a tradition in the church on Epiphany of choosing a star word for the upcoming year. The star that led the Magi was a guiding light, a tangible sign of God's presence and God's leading. So we receive a word on Epiphany, a word from God. It's a guide that can guide us through the year, a gift to remind us of God's work in our hearts and in our lives, of God's leadership for us. This is a practice I've been doing with our high school youth for several years now. And my last 2 years' words have been generosity and boldness. And I can tell you that those words and words in years past have come up with regularity throughout the year as a gentle reminder from God for me to be working on these characteristics of discipleship in my life. They come up sometimes in surprising and unexpected ways too. In the year of generosity, throughout that year, that was the year my family and I decided it was time to increase our giving, our financial giving to the congregation. In the year of boldness, I practiced and learned to speak up and speak out, even though it felt much safer to just sit and be quiet and maybe keep to myself. But the more I did that, the more I practiced boldness, the easier it became. And so these words have been a challenge to me. They've encouraged me throughout the year. They've invited me to grow as a disciple. And high school students have shared the same has been true for them, that their word has come into focus on many occasions throughout the year, even when they weren't even looking for it. And so these words can be a huge gift in our lives, a surprising gift. Now, the word is meant to be chosen at random as a gift from God rather than coming out of our own agenda or our own hopes. And so I would like to help you receive a star word for this year if you are interested, to kind of carry you throughout 2021. Now, I have a list of 72 words, star words, that have been used before. And so if you comment on this Facebook post, or if you text me, or if you email or call me or just talk to me, and you choose a number between 1 and 72, I will find that number on the list and I will let you know your star word for the year. And I encourage you to do this randomly. If you see somebody else's word on Facebook, don't just pick that number. Pick one at random. And then when you receive your word, notice your initial reaction to that word. Don't be surprised if you don't like it and wish that you'd received another one. That has happened to me before, twice actually. Pay attention to how you're feeling and wonder why that might be. And then write your word down and put it somewhere where you're sure to see it every day, or at least a couple times a month. Maybe put it on your mirror so when you brush your teeth you see it, or put it in the visor in your car. One of our high school students did that, so every time they flipped their visor down, they saw the word. Reflect on your word over the coming year. Ponder what significance it might have in your life and how God might be speaking to you through this simple message. And then over the course of the year, if you're willing, share with us, share with others how God is using that word to guide and to grow you. Let this be a year-long conversation as we celebrate and live into our star words. Finally, as we move through Epiphany, I just want to remind you that the congregation is invited to read through the Gospel of John together between January 6th, Epiphany Day, and the end of Epiphany, which is the day before Ash Wednesday. And so you can check the app, the Friday email. We'll have those daily readings available to you. You might have gotten a bookmark in your family faith formation bag or on Christmas Eve. So let's be dwelling together, not just on our star words, but in God's living word as we move through this season. Happy Epiphany to you, friends.